In a realm where the powerful consume the weak and corruption reigns, a spirited young boy named Tatsumi exists, yet he remains oblivious to these harsh truths, setting off on an adventurous quest to the capital, dreaming of wealth to support his struggling village. On his journey, Tatsumi stumbles into a dire predicament, facing a Class 1 threat, a dragon menacing 2 defenseless civilians. Yearning for fame and recognition, Tatsumi draws his sword and swiftly defeats the dragon, receiving a few words of praise for his optimistic heroics. He excitedly shares his dreams of striking it rich in the capital. Upon entering the lively city, Tatsumi is enchanted by its vibrant energy. His first stop is the Imperial Academy's recruitment center, where a recruiter hands him an application explaining he'll start at the bottom. However, Tatsumi's ambitious nature and overconfidence lead him to dream of becoming Captain right from the start. His arrogance results in him being swiftly expelled from the recruitment center. When Tatsumi regains consciousness, he finds himself gazing at a stunning sight. As he looks up, Tatsumi spots Leon, who later takes him to an inn, slyly pocketing his hard-earned coins in exchange for assistance in joining the army. Afterward, Leon tells him to wait while she chats with a friend in the army, as if she would actually return. Yet Tatsumi, ever trusting, believes her and waits at the inn all day. It's only when the innkeeper reveals the bitter truth that Tatsumi realizes he's been duped and thrown out. Tatsumi wanders the streets, finding a corner to rest, ready to sleep there. Suddenly, a carriage halts nearby, and a graceful young noblewoman named Arya steps out. She brings him to her mansion and introduces him to her family. After the formalities, Tatsumi mentions he left his village with 2 childhood friends, Ayasu and Seo. Sadly, their paths split when a band of bandits attacked them. Nevertheless, they vowed to reunite in the capital. With everything settled, Tatsumi enters his room and quickly falls into a deep sleep in his cozy bed. However, a sudden noise disrupts the peace, jolting him awake. Curious, he heads to the hallway and looks out the window, witnessing the massacre of numerous guards by Night Raid, a notorious assassination group targeting nobles. In a panic, Tatsumi rushes to Arya, who is on the verge of death at the hands of the infamous Akame. Just in time, he positions himself between Akame and Arya. Akame initially commands him to step aside, insisting he's not their target. Yet his sense of justice and heroism compel him to stand firm. He attempts to confront Akame, but soon realizes the vast difference in their abilities. As the battle escalates, Akame swings her weapon, aiming to deliver a lethal blow. Out of nowhere, Leona appears and intervenes, halting Akame. She forcefully reveals a hidden chamber where Tatsumi finds Seo tortured to death. To his right, a faint voice calls his name. To his shock, it's Iyasu, gravely poisoned by Arya's mother, facing the grim realities of the capital. Tatsumi reacts quickly, drawing his sword in a decisive manner. His steadfast determination and swift actions impress Leona, leading her to decide to recruit him into Night Raid. As dawn breaks, Tatsumi stands before his friends' graves, engulfed in profound pain and sorrow. Memories of their shared dreams and ambitions to become heroes and uplift their villages flood his mind. Unexpectedly, Leona appears, startling Tatsumi and forcefully guiding him back to their hideout for a proper introduction to Night Raid members. First, Leona introduces him to Shiel, who offers an unusual encouragement to join Night Raid, warning of dire consequences if he declines. In the midst of their discussion, Mayan bursts into the room, opposing Tatsumi's inclusion in Night Raid. Tatsumi quickly realizes that Mayan's haughty attitude and wannabe noble persona make her the toughest member to handle. Later, outside, Leona continues the introductions, bringing Tatsumi to Bulat, a master of spear combat known as Rainbow Guy. Next is Lubbock, a complete creep at heart, who harbors an intense desire to see Leona's body. Leona seizes the moment to teach him a lesson, sneaking up and brutally breaking 2 of his fingers. Finally, there's Akane, the woman who tried to kill Tatsumi twice, seemingly more interested in food whenever it's available. The eclectic group of Night Raid is anything but ordinary, and Tatsumi quickly realizes he's in for a unique and challenging experience. After the introductions, Nijenda, the leader of Night Raid, gathers all members, including Tatsumi. In this meeting, she provides a vital explanation. Night Raid is linked to the Revolutionary Army. Their mission is clear: eliminate the corrupt individuals plaguing the nation, with the minister as their primary target, representing the root of all evil. After processing this news, Tatsumi firmly decides to align himself with Night Raid, believing they embody true justice. His words spark laughter among the crew, who see themselves as mere killers, far from the ideals of justice. In spite of the grim truth, Tatsumi shows readiness to lay down his life for a noble cause, hoping for his village's success. As dawn breaks, Tatsumi starts his training with Akame, who introduces a seemingly straightforward fishing task. His confidence radiates as he boldly claims he will master the challenge. Yet the outcome humbles him. He only manages to catch 2 fish. Back at their hideout, Leon discloses their new objective: to take down Ogre, a corrupt high-ranking officer and influential oil dealer. As usual, Tatsumi brags about his skills, insisting he can handle Ogre alone. Akame counters, stating that Tatsumi lacks the necessary skills for the task. Her words ignite a fierce determination in Tatsumi, pushing him to prove her wrong. The next day, Leon leads Tatsumi to the mission location, revealing a dark part of Akane's past. She recounts how Akane and her sister were sold to the Emperor and forced into brutal training to become elite assassins. As Akane grew older, she began to question the Empire's hidden evils, relentlessly seeking the truth. Her inquiries continued until she was tasked with assassinating Nagenda. However, destiny intervened when Nagenda persuaded Akane to join Night Raid. Under the cover of night, Leon and Akane stealthily approached the mission site, quickly eliminating the oil merchant. Meanwhile, Tatsumi enters a crowded area, successfully drawing Ogre into a hidden alley. There, he asks Ogre for a spot in the Knight's Guard, but Ogre grows wary, sensing something off. In a surprising display of speed, Tatsumi narrowly avoids Ogre's attack and retaliates. The fight is far from finished. The formidable Ogre rises again. After a flurry of strikes, both fighters find themselves locked in a fierce duel, swords pressed together. In this charged moment, Ogre reveals his sinister plans concerning the girl and her family, igniting Tatsumi's fury. Determined to thwart Ogre's wicked schemes, Tatsumi unleashes his speed and swiftly takes down Ogre, eliminating the threat. On another day, a rival group of assassins breaches Night Raid's territory, aiming to discover and report their hideout. Before things escalate, every member of Night Raid, except Tatsumi, equips their Imperial arms, legendary weapons of immense power. In mere moments, they effortlessly dispatch the group of assassins, neutralizing the danger. The next morning, Nagenda assigns Tatsumi a role where he will act as Mine's subordinate. Upon entering the bustling bazaar, Mine treats Tatsumi with contempt, bossing him around like a personal servant. During their squabble, they witness a few men harassing a refugee. Mine's anger ignites, and she orders Tatsumi to step in. Without a second thought, Tatsumi draws his sword and swiftly cuts the offender's trousers as a warning. After the confrontation, Mine pauses to advise the young girl they defended, urging her to grow strong enough to protect herself. With that resolved, Mine begins her official mission dubbed Retail Investigation, which seems like a shopping spree for pink dresses. They stumble upon a horrific public execution that deeply disturbs Tatsumi, prompting him to question the Empire's cruelty. Meanwhile, within the Imperial Palace, the cunning minister manipulates the young emperor, persuading him to make rash decisions and eliminate any officer who opposes him. As night descends, all members of Night Raid gather in their meeting hall. There, Nagenda reveals their next target, a distant relative of the minister who exploits his power to abduct women and inflict brutal torture. Night Raid eagerly accepts the mission and prepares to set out. At the mission site, Tatsumi takes on the responsibility of guarding Mine while she targets their main objective. The other members concentrate on eliminating the 5 equally guilty guards. However, they soon realize one guard is missing and rush back to protect Mine and Tatsumi, fearing for their safety. As it turns out, the absent guard is a skilled martial artist who attacks the duo. Though Mine initially misses her shots, Tatsumi manages to restrain the guard, allowing Mine to land the final blow. In a somewhat humorous twist, the rest of the team arrives only to find their help was unnecessary. The next day, Tatsumi trains with Bilat, focusing on enhancing his endurance by eliminating unnecessary movements. During their session, Akame interrupts wearing a cute apron, asking Tatsumi for help with breakfast. After a satisfying meal, Nagenda gathers everyone and briefs them on their new mission. This time, Night Raid's target is Zanku, a former executioner turned serial killer. Caution is essential as Zanku wields an unknown Imperial arm. While discussing this, Nagenda shares confidential details about Imperial arms with the newcomer. Legend has it that the first king of the land forged 48 weapons from rare materials and fearsome beasts. These weapons possess legendary abilities that can annihilate entire battalions. Thus, in battles between two wielders of imperial arms, mutual demise is nearly certain. Next, she presents Akame's one-cut killer, Murasama, a sword that injects lethal poison into its target, ensuring death in mere seconds. Theon wields Lionel, an imperial arm that transforms her into a lion, while I wield Pumpkin, a powerful firearm that channels the wielder's mental energy as a shockwave. Gulat dons the demon armor in Curseo, an unbreakable suit that exerts immense pressure on the user's body. Lubbock uses the Crosstail, a string-based weapon effective for both offense and defense. Finally, Shield possesses the Cutters of Creation Extaste, a massive pair of scissors sharp enough to cut through anything, following her detailed explanation. Najenda commands the team to mobilize. Akame and Tatsumi run errands together around the town. During dinner, Tatsumi steps away to take care of business. While he's occupied, Seiyo suddenly appears before Tatsumi. Reacting instinctively, Tatsumi follows Seiyo to a secluded spot where he realizes it was Zanku all along. In that instant, Zanku reveals his imperial arm, the Spectator, which grants him the ability to read his opponent's thoughts. Tatsumi tries to confront Zanku, but his skills are clearly superior. Fortunately, Akame arrives just in time. Upon seeing her, Zanku attempts to ensnare her with an illusion, showing her a vision of her sister. Zanku thinks Akame is trapped by his illusion, but to his surprise, Akame stands firm, shattering his swords and defeating him. The next morning, Tatsumi jolts awake from a pleasant dream featuring his childhood friends. Gradually, the fog lifts from his mind, revealing Shield curled up in his bed, still asleep. As she awakens moments later, they both head out to the training grounds. Despite the heavy armor, Tatsumi seizes the chance to ask Shield about her past. With a hint of regret in her eyes, Shield begins to share her story. She reveals that she grew up in the ancient districts of the Empire, facing harsh comments about her clumsiness. Yet, amidst her awkwardness, Shield finds comfort in the unwavering support of a close friend. One fateful day, while visiting her friend's home, an unwelcome guest, her friend's ex-boyfriend, arrives. He launches a vicious attack trying to take her friend's life. In that critical moment, Shield decides to take action, calmly seeking revenge for his vile actions. However, a few days later, some of his associates confront Shield only to meet a similar fate. This series of traumatic events instills in her the belief that her true purpose lies in taking lives. Soon after, the Revolutionary Army invites her to join Night Raid. Back at the hideout, Nagender asks Tatsumi to utilize Zanku's enigmatic imperial arms. Brimming with excitement, Tatsumi equips the weapon and activates it. He activates X-ray vision, one of the 5 senses granted by the Spectator, allowing him to see beneath the girl's clothing. Internally, he admires the exquisite craftsmanship of such remarkable imperial arms. However, moments later, the arms reject him, confirming his incompatibility. The next evening, Leone takes Tatsumi to her childhood neighborhood, a place familiar to all the locals. As they soak in the lively atmosphere, a group rushes toward Leone, demanding their money back. Both Tatsumi and Leone quickly dodge the townsfolk, but in the chaos, Tatsumi loses track of Leone. Now disoriented, he finds himself in an unfamiliar part of the area. In this unsettling moment, a guard knight named Suryu, wielding an imperial arm called Koro, approaches. She firmly grabs Tatsumi's hand and leads him back to the market. As she rushes back to her post, tears fill Suryu's eyes as she remembers her teacher. She solemnly vows to eradicate Night Raid, no matter the cost. In the dead of night, Tatsumi partners with Leone for a mission in the infamous Red Area District. Leone transforms into her fierce lioness form and stealthily infiltrates the city. As they delve deeper into the building, a grim truth unfolds before them. A human trafficking ring is gathering women from the slums, forcing them into a life of drug dependency. Leone's patience snaps when she discovers a man savagely abusing her childhood friend. Without a moment's hesitation, Leone and Tatsumi charge into the criminal's private chamber. Swiftly and decisively, they eliminate everyone present, delivering the justice the villains deserve. Having completed their objective, they make a swift exit. At the same time, Shill and Mayan achieve their own success. On their way back to the hideout, they unexpectedly encounter Suryu, who unleashes her organic imperial arms. Kuru transforms into a completely different creature, immune to the combined efforts of Mayan and Shill. After a pointless struggle, Mayan cleverly distracts both Kuru and Suryu. This creates an opening for S.H.I.E.L.D. to unleash her secret weapon, an ability shared by certain Imperial arms, mimicking their original beasts. She skillfully separates Suryu from Kuru, pushing her deep into the thick forest. In that moment, S.H.I.E.L.D. delivers a swift and precise strike, targeting Suryu's hands and the guns attached to them. Cornered and desperate, Suryu resorts to Kuru's ultimate move, sending the creature into a frenzied rage. In this heightened state, Kuru grabs Mayan, attempting to crush her. Fortunately, S.H.I.E.L.D. notices the impending disaster and steps in, protecting her ally from the lethal grip. Just when it seems like they have the situation under control, Suryu surprises everyone by revealing a hidden gun in her mouth, inflicting a fatal wound on S.H.I.E.L.D. In a chilling moment, Kuru swiftly dismembers S.H.I.E.L.D.'s lifeless body. Suddenly, a wave of reinforcements descends upon Mayan from every direction. As things look grim, S.H.I.E.L.D., with her last ounce of strength, activates her trump card again, granting Mayan a crucial chance to escape. She then delivers the heartbreaking news of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s death to everyone, a revelation that deeply shakes them. Tatsumi, consumed by sorrow, urges Nagenda to launch an immediate counteroffensive. However, Bulat intervenes, bringing Tatsumi back to reality and preventing hasty actions. With heavy hearts, the group returns to the hideout, struggling with their profound grief. In the stillness of night, Tatsumi stands vigil by his friend's grave, grappling with the harsh reality. Back at the Imperial Palace, Esdith, a high-ranking general wielding the potent demon's extract, returns to the capital after defeating the northern tribe. As a reward, the king bestows upon her 10,000 gold coins, but Esdith craves something more elusive, a romantic partner. That evening, Esdith commands her loyal subordinates, Didara, Liver, and Niao, to eliminate the former prime minister. Chauri acts on her behalf, marking a dark chapter for the Empire. Meanwhile, at the secret hideout of Night Raid, Tatsumi runs into Akame. He mistakenly thinks she's indulging in a late-night snack, assuming it's a form of self-care. Akame clarifies that the snacks are tributes for her fallen comrade, S.H.I.E.L.D. Tatsumi inadvertently praises Akame, thinking she's accustomed to such moments, breaking her composed facade. She collapses in tears, and Tatsumi, feeling remorseful, vows to protect her. The following day, Esdith's henchmen viciously attack their targets, framing Night Raid with incriminating posters. Meanwhile, Nagenda instructs Leon to gather intel on Esdith's schemes. She also discloses the Empire's assassinations of loyal politicians who could have supported the revolution. To counter the looming threat, Nagenda reorganizes the teams. Tatsumi is assigned to Bullet's squad, while Lubbock teams up with Akame to safeguard government officials. Tatsumi and Bullet board a cruise ship, bracing for an imminent confrontation. During a brief pause, Bullet shares his military past, where he served under a respected general. However, the general was falsely accused of a crime by a corrupt minister for refusing to engage in unethical practices. Consequently, the military labeled Bullet's superior a criminal, tarnishing his honor, leaving Bullet frustrated by the unfounded accusations. Bullet left his post and joined the Revolutionary Army in search of justice. Later, Tatsumi and Bullet part ways as a soothing flute melody begins to lull everyone into slumber. Though affected, Tatsumi remains awake. Dadara attacks Tatsumi with his imperial arms, but Bullet intervenes, protecting him from danger. Now, Bullet faces a daunting battle against all three members of Esdith's team. Bullet is taken aback as he sees his former general, a man he once admired, now serving Esdith. Yet their current situation leaves no room for anything but confrontation. With both men ready for battle, Liver activates his ring-type imperial arms, a powerful weapon that grants him control over water. The clash begins, with Liver unleashing relentless waves of water at Bullet. At the same time, Tatsumi engages in a fierce fight with Niao, cleverly redirecting Niao's focus onto himself. Amidst the fierce exchange, Tatsumi recognizes his own vulnerabilities. Nevertheless, he resolves to buy time, fully aware of the urgency surrounding them. On the battlefield's edge, Liver spots a crucial chance and strikes hard, confident that Bullet will protect the ship's innocent civilians. To his surprise, Bullet not only endures the fierce attack, but also unveils his secret weapon, water dragons. This terrifying assault drains Bullet's strength, causing his protective armor to fade, leaving him vulnerable. Seeing his apparent success, Liver can't help but gloat. But Bullet quickly interrupts Liver's moment of glory, revealing an important fact. His ultimate move has taken a toll, causing blood to trickle from his ears. In a twist of fate, Both combatants find themselves unable to use their imperial arms. They opt to resolve their conflict the traditional way. Just before the brawl begins, Liver injects himself with a self-proclaimed enhancer likely to boost his power. The two clash, but even with the enhancer, Liver is no match for Bullet's strength. As the fight intensifies, Liver resorts to his last tactic, using his own blood as sharp projectiles against Bullet. Fortunately, Bullet anticipated this and successfully deflects the lethal attack. With his final plan thwarted, Liver accepts his fate. Yet, in his dying moments, he reveals a chilling truth. The enhancer is actually a lethal poison that will take Bullet's life shortly. To worsen matters, Niao activates his secret weapon, altering his own body. Recognizing the urgency, Bullet entrusts his powerful Incursio to Tatsumi, believing he's the only one capable. Initially reluctant to wield the power of Incursio, Tatsumi overcomes his hesitation and dons the armor. In an astonishing turn, Tatsumi lands a single crushing blow that swiftly defeats Niao, impressing Bullet with his newfound might. As Tatsumi breathes his last, he approaches Bullet, tears in his eyes, bowing to become stronger in the future. Back at the hideout, Tatsumi begins rigorous training to boost his endurance and stamina. Currently, he can only maintain the invisibility of Incursio for a fleeting second. Simultaneously, Niao unexpectedly brings forth the real arm. Meanwhile, at the city gates, Dostablock enters wearing eccentric clothing, hoping to impress the ladies. However, the townsfolk find him quite odd. After making his way to the conference room, Wave meets his new team, which includes Balls, Kurum, Suyu, Doctor, Stylish, and Run. Shortly after, Ezda makes a dramatic entrance hidden behind a mask. With the intent to evaluate each member's abilities, she puts them through a series of tests. Afterward, they proceed to meet the Emperor, where Ezda names their group the Jaegers. As the team gets to know one another, Suyu mentions another Imperial arm called Extas. To find the right fit for this powerful weapon, Ezda organizes a martial arts competition. Elsewhere in the city, Tatsumi gains access to Night Raid's secret Imperial base. Inside, Lubbock shares the eerie tale of Ezda, warning Tatsumi about her fearsome reputation. He then suggests Tatsumi enter a tournament, a chance to earn much-needed funds for his village. As the tournament begins, numerous fighters display their skills, but none can rival Tatsumi's talent. With ease, Tatsumi secures a place in the finals and triumphs in a decisive match against his opponent. This impressive feat stirs something unexpected in Ezda, prompting her to boldly step onto the stage and call for Tatsumi. In the dead of night, Ezda urges Tatsumi to join the Jaegers, though he can only watch from afar as the others embark on their missions. Later in the castle, while Ezda enjoys a bath, Tatsumi feels it's time to gather his courage and persuade her to switch sides. However, his resolve wavers when Ezda appears in alluring nightwear. In an instant, she kisses Tatsumi passionately and pushes him onto the bed. In that fleeting moment, Tatsumi finds the courage to discuss switching allegiances. Unfortunately, Ezda's reaction is immediate and firm. She slaps him, leaving no room for doubt. She won't change for him. Instead, he must adapt for her. The next morning, as Tatsumi sits at the breakfast table, he notices a striking similarity between Kurom and Akame. With confidence, he asks about their connection. To his shock, Kurom reveals they are siblings, but now Akame is just another traitor, aligned with Night Raid. Moments later, Ezda joins them at the table and announces their new mission to the countryside. This sparks a glimmer of hope in Tatsumi, as this mission could be the perfect chance for an escape. Deep in the forest, Wave and Tatsumi team up to hunt and eliminate the dangerous beast threatening the area. In an unexpected turn, they find themselves encircled by a threatening assembly of monstrous trees. Yet the trees' attempts are in vain as Tatsumi and Wave effectively eliminate the dangers. As the chaos calms, Wave briefly shifts his focus, allowing Tatsumi to activate Curcio and slip away. Unbeknownst to Tatsumi, Wave wields the Imperial arms known as Grand Chariot, a newer variant of Incurcio, which he quickly uses to pursue. He remains oblivious that his target is Tatsumi. In a high-stakes encounter, Wave strikes at Tatsumi. However, Tatsumi deftly navigates the water currents, leaving Wave confused. Soon after, Tatsumi encounters Akame and the others, who have been quietly watching him. After a lively celebration of Tatsumi's return, the group drifts into a deep sleep. In the stillness of night, Lion, stirred from her hangover, opts for a casual walk. Little does she realize that this nighttime stroll will lead to an ambush. Suddenly, they are attacked by a squad of mechanized men engineered by Dr. Stylish, who execute a well-planned offensive. Dr. Stylish had carefully orchestrated his strategy, placing his fighters in optimal positions. Inside the hideout, a group of attackers pursues Lubbock, who struggles in the fray, eager to escape down the corridor. Fortunately, Akame arrives just in time to confront the danger. Shortly after, Tobai, a fully cyborg entity, challenges Akame to a one-on-one fight. Meanwhile, outside, Tatsumi is engaged in a fierce struggle against an enhanced human-wielding Ecstase. He quickly finds himself at a disadvantage until Mine arrives, unleashing a powerful attack that annihilates the foe. On a cliff, Dr. Stylish and his men stand in shock as Nagenda's Danger Beast appears, accompanied by two new allies, Susanoo and Chelsea. Back in the hideout, Akame skillfully slices off various limbs of Tobai. At this pivotal moment, Lubbock, feeling exhausted, takes the chance to strike from behind, silencing their formidable opponent. The team quickly gathers outside, realizing they are surrounded on all sides. As Tatsumi and the others prepare for combat, something extraordinary occurs. The unique organic human imperial arms known as Susanoo crashes down from above. In an instant, Susanoo wipes out all attackers, even surviving their self-destruct sequence. With no options left, Doctor, Stylish resorts to a desperate tactic, merging with the Danger Beast and grotesquely transforming into a massive creature. Despite this bold maneuver, it proves ineffective as Akame strikes with deadly accuracy, needing only one swipe to cut through the beast. The Danger Beast carries Night Raid into the mountains, a territory filled with these fierce creatures. Upon arrival, Naginda reveals their temporary shelter, a forest where they must stay until the Revolutionary Army finds a better hideout. With the need to sharpen their skills for upcoming battles, she introduces the two new members, Chelsea, a master of deception, and Susanoo, Nagenda's powerful new imperial arm. Naturally, curiosity piques as everyone is eager to discover Susanoo's abilities. In response to the excitement, Nagenda instructs Susanoo to showcase his skills. In no time, he amazes the team by building a brand new house, preparing a lavish meal, and even handling their laundry. Back at the palace, Esdef and her entourage learn of Dr. Stylish's unexpected return. After investigating, Esdef concludes that Dr. Stylish was defeated by Night Raid. That evening, she finds Suryu in the garden, consumed by grief, her deep connection to the late Doctor evident. Esdef rushes to comfort Suryu, promising to avenge Dr. Stylish's legacy. Meanwhile, at their new hideout, Nagenda reveals that Susanoo had been dormant for a long time until her arrival at the Revolutionary Army's base. The next morning, Tatsumi, clad in Curseyo, begins a training session with Leon. He summons the Spear of Incurcio and successfully takes down a Danger Beast, impressing Leon, who believes Tatsumi is quickly catching up to Bilot. Back at the hideout, Nagenda takes a moment to praise the entire team for their significant progress. However, Chelsea remains brutally honest, stressing that they still have much to learn, or they might meet the same fate as Shiel and Balat. Her straightforward remark ignites anger in Mine, prompting her to gather Lubbock and Tatsumi in the dead of night with a plan for revenge. Under the cover of Incurcio's invisibility, Mine persuades Tatsumi to prank Chelsea while she bathes. However, Chelsea's sharp instincts sense Tatsumi's presence, and she turns the prank back on him. She then shares useful tips on masking one's aura and asks if her bluntness upset him. To her surprise, Tatsumi expresses gratitude for her advice, showing newfound maturity. In the end, Chelsea opens up, sharing the painful reality of her past. Her former teammates fell during a mission, and she fears Night Raid might face a similar fate. With two new members joining Night Raid, let's see how the next chapter unfolds. In the dead of night, a couple enjoying a serene moment is suddenly and tragically attacked by a group of lethal unknown creatures. The next day, Esdef honors the Emperor, who thanks her for her efforts against crime and Night Raid's actions in the capital. Yet, the Emperor still bears the burden of an unusual and unfulfilled request from Esdef for a romantic partner. Later that evening, Esdef meets with Prime Minister Honest. He starts the conversation by mentioning the Emperor's growing interest in love, suggesting that corruption and debauchery are inevitable. The discussion then turns to the emergence of a new, troubling breed of dangerous beasts that closely resemble humans. Esdef reassures Honest that she is aware of this looming threat, and her team, the Jaegers, is already investigating. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, a couple of citizens find themselves in a dire situation, menaced by the dangerous beasts. Their rescue comes from Rubicante, wielding his imperial arms. However, the men, paralyzed by fear, mistake Rubicante for one of the beasts due to his attire. Only when Suryu appears in her imperial uniform do the men begin to relax, watching the scene unfold. Wave attempts to comfort Rubicante, but the men's actions don't faze him. He's just glad the citizens are safe. Back at the Jaeger's base while playing chess with Curium, Wave expresses his frustration over how the men treated Rubicante, their savior. At that moment, Rubicante realizes he must give Wave a reality check. He shares his dark history, revealing how he followed the Emperor's orders to burn infected villages, admitting he's not as noble as Wave thinks. Still, he is fortunate to have a loving wife and daughter who accept him despite his grim profession. In the heart of the dense forest, Tatsumi commits to intense training with Susanoo to sharpen his skills with his imperial arms. Suddenly, Akame interrupts their training, announcing an emergency meeting at the new hideout. There, she assigns Night Raid the task of eliminating the new breed of dangerous beasts, noting they will indirectly assist both the Empire and the Jaegers. Fueled by his desire to be a hero, Tatsumi boldly claims that Night Raid stands with the people. But his moment of bravado is humorously cut short when Susanoo points out that his toolbox is wide open. In the Imperial Castle, Esdeath, tending to flowers that resemble her magnificent hair, tells Run that the new dangerous beasts were once human. She concludes that someone wielding imperial arms must be behind these beasts, or they could be the result of unethical experiments by the doctor. As night descends, Night Raid splits into pairs to hunt the dangerous beasts, with Tatsumi and Lubbock teaming up to patrol the forest. While navigating the woods, Tatsumi decides to equip his gear and press on. After a while, he reaches a cliff with no signs of the dangerous beasts. Out of nowhere, Esdeath, also on patrol, spots Tatsumi. Initially, she mistakes him for a dangerous beast. Only when she lands on the cliff does she realize the truth. Overwhelmed by unfamiliar emotions, Esdeath is taken aback, while Tatsumi silently curses his bad luck. Esdeath blushes like a newlywed, wondering if her encounter with Tatsumi is just a dream. Unfortunately for Tatsumi, it's all too real. She wraps her arms around him from behind, refusing to let go, demanding to know why he vanished from the castle. Tatsumi realizes he's in a tight spot and needs a convincing explanation. Thinking quickly, he breaks free from Esdeath's gentle hold and claims he's been training in the mountains. Esdeath inspects his physique and confirms that Tatsumi has indeed gained strength and muscle. Fortunately for Tatsumi, Esdeath spots a cowardly man hiding in the bushes, eavesdropping on them. When she calls him out, Shura emerges from the shadows, hinting that he is the mastermind behind the new breed of dangerous beasts. He quickly equips his mysterious imperial arms and teleports both Esdeath and Tatsumi to an unknown island. However, thanks to her rigorous training, Esdeath remains calm and assesses the situation. Using her unique imperial arms, she creates a vantage point to survey the area. As they gaze at the vast, stunning ocean, Esdeath instinctively pulls Tatsumi closer. Their perfect moment is suddenly shattered by a dangerous beast that eerily resembles Doctor. Stylish when he uses his enhancement drug, furious, Esdeath throws her ice blade at the creature, aiming to slice it apart. However, the beast proves to be tougher than anticipated. Tatsumi steps up, ready to be the hero and defeat the monster with a single powerful blow. Just as they catch their breath, another one of these monsters appears. This time, Esdeath, keen to impress Tatsumi, launches an ice meteor, annihilating the monster in one blow. After their short skirmish, Esdeath and Tatsumi opt to explore the island together, turning their outing into something akin to a date. As darkness descends, they discover a glowing symbol left by Shura's imperial arms, realizing it will fade and eventually return them to the forest. Yet Esdeath teases another escape plan, but insists that Tatsumi share his backstory first. Embarrassed, Tatsumi admits he learned swordsmanship and various skills from a veteran martial artist, hoping to secure a good future. He takes the chance to ask about Esdeath's past, curious about her childhood and where she grew up. Esdeath quickly shares that she was raised in a village known for hunting dangerous beasts. Her father taught her a motto, stressing that weakness leads to death. Sadly, the northern tribe invaded, launching a brutal assault that resulted in the deaths of Esdeath's father and the entire village. Now Esdeath refers to her father as a weak man. This realization hits Tatsumi, making him understand the futility of persuading Esdeff to change her allegiance. A short while later, the portal opens again, and Tatsumi steps through before Esdeff. He uses Incurso's and Mint's ability to hide his presence until Esdeff departs. The next morning, Chelsea transforms into a maid to infiltrate a corrupt noble's home. Seizing the moment, she swiftly eliminates the noble with a single precise strike. Unexpectedly, the Jaegers arrive, intending to protect the now-deceased noble. However, they arrive too late to make any difference. Back at the hideout, Chelsea informs Mine and the others about the sudden appearance of the Jaegers. Her only escape route is to transform into a cat and blend into her surroundings. The troubling part is that the Jaegers are closing in. Meanwhile, deep in the thick forest, Suryu encounters 3 thieves who have been pilfering food. Since the thieves openly confess their crimes, Suryu decides to act as judge, jury, and executioner, resulting in their demise. Wave confronts her about her rash actions, but Suryu stands firm, justifying her actions as necessary justice. Her perspective on these matters makes Wave realize the deep-rooted issues within the Imperial Army. Nonetheless, as a soldier, he feels compelled to follow his orders without fail. Back at the night raid hideout, Najenda briefs everyone on the religious uprising brewing in the capital. She explains their plan to launch a 3-pronged attack alongside the Revolutionary Army to take advantage of the situation. Tatsumi, overwhelmed by his innocence, opposes this strategy due to the expected bloodshed. However, Najenda clarifies that the populace is boiling with rage, and even if they stop the rebellion, another will ignite. Meanwhile, near the Imperial Castle, revolutionary spies gather intel on the Jaegers' current whereabouts. They relay this information to Najenda, hoping Night Raid will eliminate the Jaegers and instigate change. In turn, the Jaegers discover Night Raid's location as they plan to assassinate the religious leader. However, Esdeff, familiar with Najenda's combat style, senses a trap and instructs the Jaegers to split into teams of 3. While tracking Night Raid, Wave, Balls, and Kyram fall into a trap. Mine tries to snipe Kiram, but she narrowly avoids the bullet. In that instant, Susanoo appears and throws Wave away from the fight. Najenda announces that Balls and Kiram are their main targets. To everyone's shock, Kiram unsheathes her imperial arms, Yatsufusa, granting her control over corpses, including danger beasts. Akame takes the lead and attacks Kiram, knowing her reflexes depend on the number of corpses she commands. Initially, Akame gains the advantage in their sword clash. However, recognizing her own limitations, Kiram summons more corpses. At this moment, the battle shifts in favor of the Jaegers. With her corpses leading the charge, Kiram becomes nearly impossible to target. While the S-Class Danger Beast remains a greater threat than any corpse, Najenda realizes the situation and orders Night Raid to focus on the beast. However, Susanoo disagrees, claiming he can handle the Danger Beast alone. As he battles the beast, the rest of the team finds themselves in a seemingly hopeless fight against the corpses. Leon is held back by a former Imperial general, an old acquaintance of Najenda. Fortunately, Najenda intervenes in their fight and supports Leon. In that moment, Kiram spots an opening in Leon's defense, attacks, and swiftly severs one of his limbs. Furious, Leon is determined to confront Kiram one-on-one, but Najenda forbids him from doing so. Instead, she instructs Leon to help Akame in her battle, while she focuses on taking down the general. Even with Akame's speed advantage, she can't find a gap in Ball's defense, unable to land a hit due to his armor. Akame's worry grows, but Leon arrives just in time to lend a hand. Elsewhere, Najenda, having faced the fallen general numerous times, anticipates his every move and fires a shot that blows his head off. Yet the body continues to act as if it were alive, highlighting the need to defeat Kiram swiftly. Meanwhile, Susanoo becomes distracted by his uneven symmetry and is ambushed by the Danger Beast. Najenda tells him to get serious and permits the use of his ultimate technique. Chelsea helps Incursio take down their foe, then quickly retreats, questioning her own choices as risking herself isn't like her. With that threat neutralized, Incursio rushes to assist Mine, who is being engulfed by Kiram's last corpse in a disturbingly familiar way. On Najenda's side, Susanoo activates his ultimate technique, draining Najenda's life force but granting him immense power. However, he can only activate this ability 3 times. With his newfound strength, he quickly takes down the Danger Beast. Najenda and Susanoo hurry to support Mine and Incursio. On Akame's side, Leon formulates a strategy to redirect Ball's focus toward Akame. She leaps in for an assault, biting off a significant chunk of Rubicante. Realizing his imperial arms are now ineffective, Ball decides to resort to self-destruction. Quickly reacting, Leon tightly grips Akame, shielding her from the impending explosion. Despite her injuries, Leon keeps her cool, assuring Akame that she enjoys showcasing her Imperial Arms trump card, the Regenerator, using the explosion as a distraction. Kuram escapes with her most treasured corpse, instantly aware that Rubicante has exploded. She wonders if Akame made it through the blast. Meanwhile, Balls safely escapes the explosion, contemplating whether Kiram has survived as well. After a few steps, he encounters a slightly injured little girl who, though initially frightened, perceives him as a monster. However, Balls tends to her injuries and shows her kindness. In that moment, Chelsea decisively strikes his neck, ending her transformation. As he takes his last breaths, Chelsea reminds him that the girl he saw belonged to a village he had burned. In Ball's mind, this is both his punishment and salvation, with his only regret being that he won't see his wife and daughter again. Moments later, Rubik appears and urges Chelsea to retreat to the hideout. However, Chelsea realizes the threat posed by Kiram and her Imperial Arms. She asks Rubik to convey her message to the team, stating that she will eliminate Kiram before reuniting with Estef. She then transforms into Balls and sets off on her mission. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Kiram reminisces about the time she and Akame traversed a forest filled with dangerous beasts. Later, they were separated by superiors who believed that their partnership would be problematic. In the capital, Kiram was subjected to various enhancement drugs. Back at the hideout, Leon awakens and excitedly announces that her arm will regenerate thanks to her Imperial Arms. As the mood begins to lift, Rubik suddenly bursts in, informing them about Chelsea's suicide mission. Immediately, Negenda instructs Tatsumi and Akame to arm themselves and assist Chelsea. Deep in the thick forest, Chelsea, disguised as Balls, approaches Kiram. Fortunately, Chelsea has mastered all the speech patterns of the Jaegers from Tatsumi, raising no suspicion from Kiram. As they walk a distance, Kiram begins to feel an inexplicable backlash. Chelsea seizes the moment and strikes Kiram in her signature style, and Kiram's last words calling for her big sister trigger Chelsea's memories of her own past. She once worked as a maid in a noble's household where people were hunted for sport. Deep down, she understood how twisted things were, yet felt powerless to effect any real change. Until one day, she stumbled upon her Imperial Arms in the basement. She used her newfound abilities to assassinate the nobleman, liberating the people, and realizing her powers could be a force for change in the country. In the present, Chelsea prepares to reunite with everyone back at headquarters. However, suddenly, Kiram rises again, revealing that doctors had injected her with potent drugs. She then knocks Chelsea's Imperial Arms from her grasp, rendering it ineffective. Despite being on the verge of collapse, Kiram employs her corpses and brutally kills Chelsea. Meanwhile, Tatsumi and Akame search tirelessly for Chelsea, but their efforts yield no results. Tatsumi decides to run an errand around town, where he spots Chelsea's face displayed on a pillar. Even after Night Raid's devastating defeat, Tatsumi maintains a brave front and prepares to eliminate the religious figure. Meanwhile, Minister Honest instructs the Jaegers to personally oversee the protection of their target, Balak. Following their introductions, Asdith informs Balak that they will be residing at his estate for several days. Balak is thrilled by this news, as it allows his bodyguards to take the offensive against Night Raid. In contrast to the Jaegers, the Martial Temple fighters lack Imperial Arms. Nonetheless, they have received specialized training to combat users of Imperial Arms. The four oddly dressed men stealthily approach Seryu, showcasing their abilities. During this, Wave glances at Kiram and notices her fatigue. Her current state reminds him of the other day, when he found her unconscious after her fight with Chelsea. He dreaded reporting their tragic loss to Asdith. At headquarters, Kiram regains consciousness after a short while and insists on participating in the mission. Initially, Asdith disagrees, but after assessing her strength, he relents. In the city, Tatsumi and Main patrol, taking a longer route. Main continuously advises him to stay alert. Yet, Tatsumi feels a sense of relief, being far from the capital. On another front, Lubbock, also on patrol, is spotted by the enemy. His cautious demeanor clearly reveals his intentions. As night descends, Ibarra stealthily approaches Akame, the one-hit assassin. Akame takes the lead, but Ibarra seems to have trained his body to counter Murasame's powers. Meanwhile, Lubbock finds himself under attack from Sten, who quickly gains the advantage. Steen delivers a crushing blow to Lubbock, convinced he has killed him. Unbeknownst to him, Lubbock blocked the punch using his imperial arms, crossed tail. He halts his pulse, feigning death. Steen retreats, disappointed, but then Mez arrives and informs him of a spy from the Revolutionary Army. Realizing this, Lubbock understands he was meant to meet the spy. However, when Sten chokes the spy, Lubbock reveals himself. He boldly confronts the two martial artists. Meanwhile, Ibarra gains the upper hand and manages to snatch Murasame from Akame. That's when he realizes Akame has lured him into a trap. In that instant, Akame swiftly approaches and takes him down effortlessly. Back in the city, Lubbock crafts an axe using crossed tail and strikes Steen. However, his true goal was to rescue the spy and escape. Stan refuses to let him flee and pursues him. Eventually, Lubbock reveals his true intentions and plays his trump card. He pierces Sten's skin with a spear, crushing his heart from within, killing him instantly. Afterward, he forms a shield around himself using crossed tail. However, Mez, a skilled martial artist, uses her body sweat to nullify crossed tail. She then leaps forward with incredible speed, striking him down. Just as she prepares to deliver the final blow, Lubbock ambushes her from behind, killing her instantly. The next day, anticipating the final showdown with the Jaegers, Nagenda asks Suzunu to prepare everyone's favorite meal, knowing it might be their last. The team enjoys their meal, sharing light-hearted moments as the sun sets. Suryu and Suzuka stand in a cathedral, discussing Night Raid's attack plans for the day. Suddenly, Suzuka spots a suspicious girl in town who seems to have combat experience. Imperial guards notice Tatsumi and Mine, but the two manage to slip away just in time. As night falls, Tatsumi and Mine remove their disguises. Mine feels the remnants of makeup on her face and approaches Tatsumi, inquiring about her appearance. Her unexpected reaction causes Tatsumi to blush, leading to their usual playful banter. Amid their teasing, Suryu notices them, but she's even more shocked by Tatsumi's identity. Regardless, she continues with her plan to eliminate Mine and the traitor. As she fires her weapons, Mine detects the gunpowder, giving them a chance to escape. To make things even more complicated, Suzuka shows up. As events unfold, Tatsumi faces off against Suzuka, while Mine is left to deal with Suryu alone. Yet, she's not the defenseless girl she once was. With a single strike, Mine counters Suryu's strongest attack, showcasing her power. Suryu, impressed by Mine's abilities, closes in and adopts her usual domineering style. Mine, however, remains unshaken, calling Suryu a hypocritical maniac indifferent to the ogre and the doctor's stylish hidden actions. Suryu then activates Koro's Phase 5. Undaunted, Mine unleashes a series of energy blasts, confident in her ability to find Koro's core. Sensing the threat, Suryu plays her trump card. The sudden surge in power boosts Orion's Mine, giving Suryu the perfect chance to attack. Despite Mine's counterattacks, Suryu's resolve shines through as she lands several heavy hits. She then regroups with Koro's, who is now fully restored. Meanwhile, in the city, Suzunu and Leon clash with the Jaegers, cornering Kuram, who hasn't yet recovered from her last fight. As Leon prepares to strike, Wave intervenes, activating his imperial arms. Back in the forest, Tatsumi lures Suzuka into a cave and begins to attack the surroundings fiercely. The landscape collapses on Suzuka, leading to Tatsumi's victory. Outside, Mine lies in a daze, overwhelmed by dark emotions. As she reflects on her past, Mine finds the strength to rise. Harnessing her emotional energy, she blasts away both Koros and Suryu. But then, things take a grim turn as Suryu triggers a self-destruct sequence that Mine can't escape. After a tense minute, the bomb explodes and Mine resigns herself to her fate. Suddenly, she's in Tatsumi's arms, safe in the city, as Nagenda reunites with Esdith. Akame and Lubbock successfully eliminate their target. Esdith admits that Nagenda has always excelled at crafting schemes. The next day, in the Imperial Castle, General Butu, weary of Prime Minister Ona's political games, informs him that his family has maintained the nation's peace for a millennium. Now he feels compelled to engage in politics to ensure justice and peace. Despite this, the minister insists Butu leave it to him, revealing he has formed a special task force led by his son Shura to handle the rebellion. Butu, however, chooses to take control and eliminate those who stand before him. As events unfold, Lubbock and Tatsumi gear up to infiltrate the Imperial Castle to take out their target. Soon, they encounter a noble girl whose parents were wrongfully imprisoned for opposing the Prime Minister. While sneaking in through the back gates, the girl reveals that various bureaucrats have formed a Prime Minister organization, secretly aiding the Revolutionary Army. However, upon entering the hideout, they find that all the nobles supporting the Revolutionary Army have been killed. Suddenly, Shura and Butu arrive. Butu, true to his reputation, launches a fierce attack on Tatsumi, while Shura engages Lubbock, using the enhancement drug's power. With this newfound strength, Shura marks the battlefield with his imperial arms, allowing him to teleport freely. Meanwhile, Butu and Tatsumi are locked in a fierce battle. Butu is impressed by Tatsumi's determination and strength, eager to learn his name. Before attacking, Tatsumi boldly states his name and lunges at Butu, only to be defeated by the seasoned warrior. Meanwhile, Lubbock skillfully dodges each of Shura's strikes. Out of nowhere, a noble girl grabs Lubbock from behind, hoping Shura will release her parents. However, Shura, enraged by her interference, strikes her down. In that instant, Lubbock severs Shura's arm, revealing his trap. But then, a shocking twist occurs when the noble girl stabs Lubbock with a knife. This gives Shura the chance to activate his trump card and teleport Lubbock to the far reaches of the universe. Still, despite everything, Lubbock refuses to let Shura live, dragging him into the portal, using the same move he used against Sten, ultimately killing him. Lubbock is then teleported back to Earth, but in his final moments, he expresses gratitude for Cross-Tail and regrets not confessing his feelings to Nagenda. He falls right before Tatsumi's eyes, shattering his spirit. Unfortunately for Tatsumi, Butu captures him and throws him into the dungeon. He then informs the Prime Minister of his son's demise. Completely unfazed by the tragedy, Ons discusses methods to torture Tatsumi. Just then, Asdith shows up at the perfect time, urging Onus to let her handle it. As darkness descends, Night Raid learns of Tatsumi's imminent execution. Mine makes a rash choice to save him solo, but soon Ache, Leon, and even Nagenda join her. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Castle, Asdith visits Tatsumi in his cell, offering him a chance to join the Jaegers. In return, the Emperor will wipe his slate clean. Still, he declines to switch allegiances and rebuff Asdith's feelings. In the end, Asdith can only execute Tatsumi herself. The following day, the Colosseum fills with thousands eager to witness Tatsumi's execution. As the Emperor delivers his grand address, Butu spots Onus preparing to escape. Afterward, Asdith enters the Colosseum, ready to carry out the execution of her beloved. At that moment, Mine takes aim at Asdith, and the rest of Night Raid arrives. Nagenda triggers the traps Lubbock set before his demise to create diversions. Butu stands firm, clashing with Mine and Leon, while Nagenda challenges Asdith to a duel, wielding Susanoo. Initially, Susanoo employs martial arts against Asdith, but that turns out to be a grave mistake. Nagenda is compelled to use Susanoo's ultimate move again, but it still falls short against Asdith. Outside, Butu unleashes a powerful strike that knocks Mine down, only fueling her rage. Summoning her remaining strength, Mine stands firm and unleashes a massive counterattack against Butu. Her strike is so fierce that it incinerates the great general. However, Mine is gravely injured and collapses. Fortunately, Akame arrives just in time in Kurchio, allowing Tatsumi to catch Mine before she falls. Observing the chaos, Asdith activates her own ultimate move, freezing both time and space. She shatters Susanoo's core and declares her victory. With no alternatives left, Nagenda uses her trump card for the last time to restore Susanoo's core and make him a decoy. She commands everyone else to retreat. Tatsumi clutches Mine tightly and heads back to headquarters. During their escape, Mine asks to be laid down, confessing her love for Tatsumi and kissing him. Tatsumi often speaks without considering others' feelings. He questioned Nagenda's choice to rescue him, which cost 2 valuable lives. Leon quickly intervenes, stopping Tatsumi's reckless accusations. Meanwhile, in the capital, a crowd gathers around the palace, starting a rebellion. Wave tries to quell the uprising without bloodshed, but soon realizes violence is unavoidable. Frustrated and disheartened, he returns to the Jaeger's base to update Ron on the situation. To Wave's astonishment, Ron had already anticipated this outcome. However, he disagrees with the idea of rebellion, which is why he aligned with the Jaegers. That evening, Akame and Tatsumi discover the crucified bodies of revolutionary spies, one bearing a challenge for Akame. As night falls, Tatsumi tries to prevent Akame from going off alone. Yet Akame insists that some tasks must be tackled solo. Before departing, she promises to return home safely. In the dense forest, Akame and Kuro sit back, reminiscing about Akame's betrayal of Night Raid. Soon, their confrontation begins. Despite her injuries, Kuro keeps pace with Akame, but a fierce beast interrupts them. The sisters decide to take down the beast together, just like they used to. After teaming up against the creature, they prepare to deliver a final strike. But Wave and Tatsumi intervene before things escalate. They urge the sisters to choose Pacer, but the rift between them has grown too wide. With one swift and decisive strike, Akame takes her sister's life. In the end, Wave is left with nothing but sorrow, regretting he couldn't save his friend. Back at Night Raid's hideout, Akame and the others gather around the dinner table, feeling the absence of their lost comrades. Yet Lion expresses her gratitude for everything they've done for their cause. She then announces the commencement of Night Raid's final mission to eliminate the source of all evil, Minister Honest. Later, as an agenda commands the army outside the palace, Lion, Akame, and Tatsumi infiltrate the castle. To their surprise, they encounter Run, who reveals himself as a teacher. One fateful day, bandits captured his students and killed them, yet the ministers remained inactive despite the tragedy. Run harbors a deep disdain for the Imperial Palace, but he avoids bloodshed, which fuels his hatred for Night Raid. Shortly after, Tatsumi and Akame depart the skirmish, leaving Run to face Lion as they infiltrate the castle. Before Tatsumi can utter a word to the Emperor, he awakens the fabled First Imperial Arms, known as Primus. Under the minister's influence, the Emperor unleashes the legendary Imperial Arms, causing chaos in the city as destruction looms. A true warrior enters the fray to shield Tatsumi from the Emperor's devastating onslaught. He believes that by joining forces, they can finally bring an end to the turmoil. Yet, their combined strength fails to inflict any damage on the legendary Imperial Arms. It isn't until Tatsumi identifies a vulnerability, recalling Suzunu's training, that he strikes. Despite their attempts, Primus's power proves too much for Tatsumi alone, and both he and Wave are ultimately overpowered. However, Tatsumi remembers his predecessor's words, and with emotion surging, he calls upon Incursio. This summons the dormant dragon spirit within Incursio, triggering its evolution once more. Fueled by this newfound power, Tatsumi breaks through the weak point and defeats Primus, but he realizes Primus is about to unleash a final energy attack. With the last of his strength, Tatsumi intercepts the attack, sacrificing himself to save the people. Death arrives and finds Tatsumi's lifeless form. Despite her lover's demise, she believes Tatsumi fell due to his own shortcomings. Akame tells her the war has ended, but Death, always craving bloodshed, insists she remains standing. She declares she would instigate a war just to satisfy her thirst for killing. The final confrontation to determine the nation's fate begins. Death seizes the advantage with her remarkable swordsmanship and imperial arms. Akame keeps pace with her, but soon, Death gains the upper hand and delivers lethal strikes. In a pivotal moment, Akame touches Murasama, making a small, self-inflicted cut. This allows the curse to flow through her, turning her into a perfect vessel for the demon sword. After activating her secret weapon, Akame gains incredible speed and power, cornering Death. She finally manages to graze Death, but Death severs her own arm before the curse can take hold. Though Akame's speed has surged, Death relies on her instincts to evade and counter every attack. Death then feigns an opening to draw Akame in. As Akame lunges to strike, Death activates her secret weapon, freezing time and space. Yet, she still can't hit Akame, as all she sees is her afterimage. Akame seizes the perfect moment and lands the decisive blow. She explains that timing was the key to countering Death's secret weapon. Before taking her final breath, Death embraces Tatsumi one last time, freezing them both. The two then dissipate into nothingness, marking the Revolutionary Army's victory. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister tries to escape through a hidden passage, but Leone is already waiting. She uses her superior strength to slam him to the ground and finish him off. With everything concluded, the nation enters a new era. Tatsumi's villagers express gratitude for the help they received, unaware of the sacrifice made. They still hold on to the belief that Tatsumi, Ieyasu, and Soya will return to them. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing for more quality content.